Hello, my name is Lena and I just turned 35. 5 years till 40. Like, I am as close to 40 as I am to the beginning of the pandemic. I'm not panicking, you're panicking. And guess what? The sticky ads on my browser know it. They want me to panic. And they want me to hand over an inordinate amount of money on skincare and other solutions to make me feel like aging is optional. Time is controllable and you can stop it passing. Luckily, I had to do a little bit of research on skincare when I wrote my book Half-Arsed Human, because I have a little section called Half-Arsed Skincare, and it would transpire that almost all of it is bullshit. Yeah, not even the vitamin C, barely the retinol. The only thing we can really reliably, scientifically rely on is SPF, and I already do that. But it got me thinking, why, in my more vulnerable moments, am I scared of aging? Like, what am I actually scared of? Because the word aging is not a scary word. I always knew this was coming. This is not a surprise. Like, we get a reminder that every year on our birthday that time passes. And I came up with a little list of what I think the underlying fears are when I think, oh, I'm scared of aging. I'm scared of losing the use of my body. I am very fortunately abled and I often take it for granted that I can use my body. And when I get little creaks and little strains, it really makes me think, oh, is this the beginning of the end? But the second one is the fear of stopping recognizing myself. I have been on YouTube since I was 19 years old. So there is like quite a lot of documentation of how I have looked in the past at various different ages. And I think like one of my fears is like looking in the mirror and not feeling like I look like myself. And I think that is what a lot of the Botox industry relies on. Maybe not trying. Sometimes it is to make yourself look like somebody else or look prettier or look more like the beauty standard. But sometimes I think it's like we have this idea of what we should look like and what we would recognize ourselves as, and trying to make that happen a reality or to like preserve that. And I don't know if looking like yourself is possible because you're kind of like this nebulous soul that can't be summarized in a face. But I definitely think that's one of my fears, like looking in the mirror and being like, who is that? Fear of time running out, of like not doing all the things you wanted to do and feeling like it's too late to do the most important things to you and not having prioritized and having like that be your fault. Losing my memory, that's something that really scares me. It scares me when I see it in other people in my family. I don't know, that's particularly one that brings up a lot of fear for me, I think. Losing my eyesight, this might be different for you. You might have like a different sense that you know that you really value and you would miss. For me, I think it's eyesight just because I'm aware that I've been wearing glasses since I was 7. I know that my prescription is getting worse most of the time that I go to the optician, and I think it's just something that, because I'm such a reader, I think that losing my independent access to stories would really make me super sad. And I know that lots of people experience that anyway, and people depend on audiobooks and stuff like that, but I think there's something really important to me about being able to see. I'm a very visual person, and that's something that would scare me. Getting stuck in a rut, like just like choosing a path and not staying curious and just being one of those people that always does the same thing all the time. And then finally, seeming uninviting. Let me explain what I mean by this. I feel like because old people are sidelined in our society and they're seen as uninteresting or like not very vibrant, or like people that people aren't that curious about sometimes, I want to be perceived as somebody that people would be like, oh, I'll go and ask that lady, or oh, I've got a question, maybe I'll talk to them, or they're at a party and they're like, they seem fun, I'll go and make friends with them. And like losing that like feeling the future judgment of society and like judging me as somebody who isn't somebody like approachable. And again, that's like me projecting other people's behavior onto them, like how I expect them to react. And I don't know, it's all very interesting. Anyway, this is not a wallow channel. This is a solutions-based channel. So I've written myself a little task list for this week when I go around doing all my different like daily, weekly work tasks and other stuff, things that I'm going to add into what I'm doing to see if I can come up with my own anti-aging routine based on my actual fears, not on the fear of not being attractive anymore, not in the fear of like vaguely having a wrinkly face, but like the actual things that I myself personally are worried about, and see if I can insert those kinds of things into my week. So who's got a pen? Here's the plan. To tackle the fear of losing use of my body, I am going to be doing a little daily yoga practice. But here's the thing, I don't get on very well with YouTube tutorials or videos or DVDs, and I don't want to like go to a class every single day. So what I've picked up from Vinted is this book. It's like a non-intimidating little book of stretches you can do as demonstrated by birds, and they look really, really straightforward. I think it will really help me focus on what I'm doing rather than like on a screen or listening to the person or getting annoyed at how many breaths I'm supposed to be taking, and just focus on stretching. So I am excited to try that every day this week, she says confidently. While a lot of the time we can't control what happens to our bodies and how we age, and I think that's something we need to reconcile ourselves with, I think I will feel good knowing that I'm doing something to keep my suppleness and build my core strength. The second one is stopping recognizing myself. And for this is a weird one, but I genuinely think this is going to work. I am going to really lean in to one of my personal style aspects. For me, that is red lipstick. I love wearing red lipstick. If you've seen my other video, you'll know that I care a lot about it. It's something that I think that other people tell you should save for special occasions, but I think this makes me really feel like me. And it's something that I will be able to continue to do whatever age I am at. So associating myself with a creative visual choice rather than the quality of my skin and the elasticity of my cheeks, I think will remind myself that I am also in control of how I look to a certain extent, and it doesn't have to be a bastion of youth. It can be a fun statement. Time running out. Now, I think this is different for everybody, but one of the things that I fear is never finishing a fiction book. I've been trying to write fiction for a very, very long time, and while I've written non-fiction and poetry, it's something I've never completed. So I think the fear of time running out might be helped by really keeping to a regular routine of me working towards something that I'm scared of time running out before I'll be able to do. So I'm going to put daily writing, but that might be different for you depending on what you would be devastated if you ran out of time to do. Losing my memory. I read a really good book a couple of years ago called Dancing by the Light of the Moon about the science behind memory and its connection to poetry. So I will be trying to memorize a poem this week, and I will report back to you and see how well I'm doing on that. But I think even if I just spend 5 minutes a day on it, I could be able to improve. And I think that's a good, healthy, fun, like relates to my interest way of doing a bit of brain training that also feels like creative and in my wheelhouse. Losing my eyesight. This is one that I have very little control over, I think. I've depended on my opticians to give me a good prescription. But something that I am aware of is that when I do a lot of close reading and a lot of close work and work on the computer, and I know that my environment isn't lit properly, so I'm going to invest in a proper lamp, because I just know that's something that makes your eyesight deteriorate, and it's something that's never on my priority list, and it really should be, because I do a lot of work with my eyes and a lot of it is in low level lighting. Getting stuck in a rut. I think I can try a new craft. I have a craft in mind and I think that it's going to be fun, but I think just start trying something new is really good. But for me, it's got to be a craft. And then seeming uninviting. Something I love about my own dress sense is that I feel like it is quite playful already and it is quite inviting. So I think leaning into that and like wearing some exciting outfits is really going to remind me that there are other ways to look inviting rather than just being like young. Right, that's my plan. All I've got to do is execute it. So, who thought I was going to change my life in a week? Oh, just me. I think you saw this coming, but actually it took me about 3 or 4 weeks to get into the swing of trying to do all of these things. But I do think it's really good, as I constantly have to keep reminding myself, even though I literally wrote a book on the topic, it's okay to half-ass things, and reaching for the moon and landing among the stars is totally fine and so much better than not trying. Let me go through each of my little points, my little things that I wanted to add into my life, and tell you how I got on with them. So the first one was yoga practice. I have not been doing this every day, but I have been doing it, and I actually really enjoy using the book over watching a YouTube video or like having a yoga DVD or anything like that, because it just feels like lower stakes. Maybe I'm just so bookish that I'm just like, it's a book, so I feel comforted. It just feels less online, less I'm still on a screen, less rigid. and I'm just learning the moves rather than having to do a whole routine that somebody else is telling me to do, because I'm very adverse to being told what to do, even if it's by somebody who's just trying to help me and I've voluntarily pressed play on the video. It's unhinged, I know. I've also been like reminding myself that you don't have to be wearing yoga clothes to do yoga. Like, I've often just done it in my normal clothes and just had a little stretch out at the end of the day in a skirt, in my dungarees, in whatever I'm wearing. And obviously if it gets in the way, I can change. But most of the time, quite a beginner, not doing that many moves, it's not really getting in the way. So it's been nice just to know how to stretch out my body a little bit more when it's feeling a little bit creaky, and it's something that I'm going to continue to do, and hopefully with more consistency. The red lipstick, always a hit. No notes. I hadn't been doing it every single day, but I definitely noticed on the days that I wasn't wearing it, I wasn't feeling as toss about life. So I'm glad that I'm intentionally trying to do that more, just because, like, why not? In this one world, with this one chance at existence, why not wear the things you love? And also the fact that lipsticks are so huge. This is the lipstick that I'm wearing at the moment. That is so much lipstick. If you wear lipstick, you'll understand. It looks like a tiny little bit, but actually that's a shit ton of lipstick. So really the only way to really appreciate my purchases is by wearing stuff more often, if not every day. The writing has also not been daily, but I have got stickers, and I stick a sticker on my calendar on the days that I have written, and it has been way more consistent than it usually is. I've taken some time to write in my shed. I've written on the sofa after work. I've gone to write in a couple of coffee shops with Craig, and that's been really nice. And I'm getting more and more consistent at that as I progress further through my writing, and I'm more excited about what I'm writing as well. So that's been good. Memorize a poem. So I've been trying to memorize Jabberwocky by Lewis Carroll for ages, and I just think I've hit a wall with it. It's quite long. So I decided actually to return to a poem that I really loved when I was a very cool teenager, which is Sonnet 29. Would you like to check my work and see how I'm getting on with this memorizing? Okay, let's go. Here's the sonnet. When I in disgrace with fortune and men's eyes, I all alone beweep my outcast state, and trouble deaf heaven with my bootless cries, and look upon myself and curse my fate, wishing like me to one more, like with friends possessed. Wishing me like to one more rich in hope, like him with friends possessed, desiring this man's art and that man's scope, with what I enjoy most, contented least. Then what happens? God damn. Then like to myself almost despising, haply I think on thee. Then like to the lark at break of day arising, something something sing hymns at heaven's gate. It's in there. It's in there. From sullen earth sing hymns at heaven's gate. For thy sweet love remembered, such wealth brings, that I scorn to change my state with kings. I think that's such a sweet poem. And even though I don't know it perfectly, I know it way better than I did. And it was actually a really nice thing to repeat to myself as I was going to sleep, or I went swimming a couple of times, and it's what I was saying to myself in the swimming pool, rather than just like thinking about my to-do list or like having an existential crisis. So it's a really nice place for your brain to go. And actually, while sonnets are very impenetrable sometimes, they're also literally designed to be easy to remember, because most people who were performing Shakespeare's writing were illiterate. So that's why he wrote in iambic pentameter, like one of the reasons, so that it's easy to remember. And I was reminded of this one because I got served a clip of Judi Dench performing it on the Graham Norton show, and how she took the whole room from like giggling and chaos to just like everybody staring at her. I was like, I want a power over that room.
That then I scorn to change my state with kings. There.
Wow.
And it's such a sweet poem. So that was really good. And actually, maybe I'll just try and like start memorizing sonnets. What a party trick. Wild times. Next was my lamp. And let me tell you something. I freaking love my lamp. This isn't sponsored. I paid for the lamp myself, but I'll leave a link below if you want to have a little look at it. I think that any reading lamp is better than none. And I think that if you have a reading lamp that is portable and you can like bring around with you in your house, then like just use that. But also this one has extra features, and like it's supposed to be proper like daylight lamp, like medically designed to make sure that your eyes are okay. So I really like it. And the fact that it's like USB chargeable, but I used it for loads of stuff. I used it while I was sewing, I used it while I was reading and writing, knitting while I was watching a film with Craig, but like the light wasn't on him, it was just on my knitting. This is probably my most consistent habit, was using my lamp to improve my sight, and I'm very proud of it. Well done me. Trying a new craft. Now I had loads of grand designs for these and I didn't actually get around to it, but there are two things that I tried that I think I would consider crafts. One was that I made my own parmesan, vegan parmesan, from a recipe that I got from that cheese class that I went to. Remember the cheese class that I took you on? And it was super easy. I was actually alarmed at how easy it was. And it made loads of parmesan as well. I've got both of these to get through before I can do it again. And it's literally just loads of like dry ingredients in a blender. And it took, I would say, about 20 seconds to actually blend and like 3 minutes to assemble. So I would call that a new skill, but like a very small one. Something that took a lot longer was me and Craig learned how to play the board game Creature Comforts. This is a board game that we actually bought in Canada a couple of years ago and never got around to playing because it looked really complicated. And let me tell you, it's actually not that complicated, and it's one of the most wholesome games I've ever played. Literally the whole game is that you are like a raccoon or a rabbit, and your whole job is to try and prepare for the winter and make sure you have the coziest winter ever. So you can collect yarn to make socks, you can collect firewood, you can collect bits of stone to build a nice cozy kitchen for yourself, you can build yourself a bookshelf and then like collect books to put on it. It's absolutely unhinged in the best way, and it's also very non-competitive. You can play it on your own, you can play it with up to 8 people, but like it's very hard to find games that are satisfying to play as a 2, and this one's very satisfying. And also no one really loses. Like if you win the game, like your reward is you have the coziest winter ever. And there's also no way of like completely losing. There's no snakes and ladders moment where you lose everything and you have to start again. Like it's a very forgiving game. And there's even like when you lose a round, you get a token called a lessons learned token. Not a punishment, like it's actually like a good thing to get that token because you can use it to your advantage later in the game. So even if you lose, you kind of win. And I just think that maybe instead of Monopoly, we should all be playing Creature Comforts if we're going to bring down capitalism. So yes, I would count that as a skill that I gained. And the final one was wearing exciting outfits. I did this quite a bit. I didn't get pictures of everything, but I even like made a video during that week that is now up on my channel where I was experimenting with different outfits I could wear, and I really enjoyed it. I didn't go all out eccentric. Maybe I should make a video where I do that again. I did that during lockdown. Was anybody here for that? I did a very cry for help. Oh my God, what's happening to the world? I'm just going to dress up in my party outfits video during lockdown. So maybe I'll do that again. But I did definitely make a little bit more of an effort with my outfits, and it definitely lifted my mood. I hope this video gave you a reason to rethink your relationship to aging. Aging is something that I think is cool. And I kind of started to play the script in my head that says, trying not to age or pretending you're not aging is cringe, but also trying to sit with the anxiety and the worries you have about aging and work out what they're actually about is really good, and trying to implement stuff in your life that will just make your life better. Maybe in big ways, like trying to do a job that you really care about and making sure your passions align with what you are doing day to day. But if that's not possible, or if you're already doing that, even just doing these little small things to be like, hey, I have a body and a brain and a personality and a will to live, and I want to look after all of those things and nurture them because they might not be with me forever. That's like the coolest anti-aging cream you could ever have. So from me and my wrinkles and my crow's feet, thank you so much for joining us. This video was not sponsored by an anti-wrinkle cream, and that's because it was made possible by the Gumption Club, who tip me per video to make sure these wrinkles keep happening. Frog snug out.